Well, Doc, we're back again for another program here. I want to welcome those on the radio and those that watch via YouTube. Doc, I thought I've had something on my mind, the statue of Daniel chapter 2. Let me read just a verse or two to refresh the memory of the folks listening that don't eat, drink, and sleep this like we do every night. But Daniel chapter 2 and Daniel 7, of course, the same world kingdoms, only given from a different perspective.
True.
Daniel 2 is how man looks at the world's kingdoms, precious metals, strength of iron, and the beautiful shine of a brass, thing. And then, of course, Daniel 7 is wild beasts, and a very different look at it. And that's God's looking down at the kingdoms of the world, which are wild beasts that can't be tamed.
And these are all from the perspective of their relationship with Israel.
Right. And of course, now we've got an interesting thing going on in the world, and that's a man named Donald Trump, who has come back with a gusto. I mean, nobody could have ever saw this.
No.
He's twice the leader he was the first time.
Absolutely.
And it's almost like God put him in. God took him. It's almost like Moses. You ever think about this? Moses spent the first 40 years of his life thinking he was somebody. He spent the next 40 years on the backside of a desert realizing he was nobody. And he spent the final 40 years telling people that God was somebody. And it's almost a scenario there with Mr. Trump now. And God's using him. He's shaking the entire globe.
Well, he's been able to, over his lifespan, learn what he learned in business and all of that.
Yeah.
But having lost that second term has given him an opportunity to have reflected and learned from pretty serious mistakes, and he's determined not to make those mistakes again.
As well as suddenly, he's got a base that he never had before.
That's right. And he has considerably more clout than he had the first time.
And he's walked in there with a real mandate.
Yes.
And he's walked in there with a group of people that are standing with him, and they're not going to be shook. I mean, Kash Patel is the FBI director. By the time this airs, who knows who's going to be in jail already?
I hope.
Elon Musk, love him, hate him, like him, doesn't matter. The man's doing God's business here. He's doing Trump's business. He's doing the people's business.
Yeah.
Why are people upset that fraud's being exposed?
Well, they're upset because they've been the recipients of all of this, and all of a sudden that water flow is going to be shut off.
You wait till they trace the paper trail.
Well, that's why they didn't want Kash Patel.
Yeah. You wait till they find out where the money went, who got it. They're talking about all these different congressmen. They make 200 and some thousand a year. Yeah. And in a few years, they're multimillionaires. There has to be a reason for that.
We've known it all along. It's just now all of a sudden we're able to, I think, come to a realization of seeing how it's done.
Well, let me read a couple of verses in Daniel 2 of something that's a big part of prophecy, and that's the statue of Daniel. In fact, my Daniel study guide that I'll just hold it up here for you to see has the picture of the statue on it, and you can get that on the website if you're interested in getting it. This is brand new. This is my newest book, and we've been doing shows on this. In fact, we'll be recording a couple of them today. We're all the way up to Daniel 9 now. So, but we did Daniel 2. We did Daniel chapter 7 already and discussed these things. But let me read a verse 32. Daniel 2:32. The image's head was of fine gold, not just gold, fine gold. His breast and his arms of silver. Notice how the value of the metals goes down, but the strength goes up.
Yep.
Gold is soft. Silver's not quite as soft. So his arms of silver, and his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part iron and iron. I'm showing I'm from Maine now. Iron, iron, and part of clay. And so let's talk about this because I've got a few points that I wanted to bring out. There's something that we seem to miss in this story. When you read on, you find that there's also a stone cut out without hands that's going to be cast at this statue after it stands up on its feet. When the feet are ready, the 10 toes, the 10 kingdoms, a stone is going to come, and that stone is cut out of a rock without hands, it says.
Cut out of a mountain.
Yeah. And that stone we know is Christ.
Yeah.
Yes. That's Christ coming. He's going to topple this statue.
Yep.
And he's going to take over the world. I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
And we're going to witness that one day. And that stone is Christ here. And look at verse 35 here. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away. And I didn't read verse 34, and I should have. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet, that were of iron and clay, and break them to pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole statue is going to come crumbling down when it faces Christ. And so let's look at this. Of course, the head of gold is Babylon. That's going to be King Nebuchadnezzar. He's pretty excited about that.
That's the first kingdom that brought the Gentile rule of trampling Jerusalem under their feet.
Yep. And some of that is still going on to this day.
Oh, it is to this day.
Babylon has not gone away. I mean, the country, the city of Babylon is in ruins, but
the Babylonian
system is here.
Oh, yeah.
The silver, that's the chest and arms. That's going to be the Media Persia Empire there, and they're going to take over the kingdom. They're going to be, and by the way, they're going to be a great help to Israel.
And all of these, up until you get to the toes, is history from our point of view.
Yep, and the toes are kind of wiggling now, aren't they?
It seems to be that they are.
Trump's getting ready to make people laugh at this. I think Trump is serious, and I believe it's going to happen. I believe Canada's going to be the 51st state. I believe it's going to happen.
It could. Because who would have thought Mexico has said, okay, you can bring your military troop in and help us clean up the cartels?
Yeah. And they're in trouble up there, and I think a lot of the people up there would love to be part of America. And
well, they've been in trouble for a long time, but their current administration is kind of like our last couple. They have just done everything to destroy
But see,
them.
they're like we are. We're in trouble too. The difference is we have the printing press and they don't.
Yeah.
If you don't have the printing press, you're in trouble. If you got the printing press, you just keep printing. But it's catching up to us. Then comes along a guy named Alexander the Great. Mm-hmm. That's the kingdom of, the Bible calls it Grecia. We call it Grecia. And they're going to tell you that's the belly and thighs of brass. And this guy was a warrior. So this young kid took over the world. Movies have been done. Books have been written about him. And people have studied how he warred and how he did things. And so that's the brass. And then you got the legs of iron, of course. That's the big Roman Empire. They're going to rule for they're going to rule longer than any of the other kingdoms rule. They're going to rule right up past the time of Christ.
Well, they are still actually, their effects are still ruling the world.
Yeah, and of course we came out of that, and we're part of that, and I kind of feel that we lead that system.
Well, I know we lead it at the moment, yes.
Now, that could change.
Even Israel said yesterday that we in America and Netanyahu and Trump, we agree. Well, why should it matter whether you agree or not? You're sovereign. No, you're not, because the Gentile world is still ruling over Israel.
And it's the almighty dollar. And if a country does not do what we say, we cut off aid. And so we bring them back to the table, and they say, where do I sign? And we've seen that in the last few weeks happen.
Yes.
And, our money, we've got military in 100 and some countries of the world. Mm-hmm. We've got our money out there. We are ruling the world technically. Not fully.
That's why they're doing everything they can to dissolve the Bretton Woods Agreement after World War II. They're doing everything they can to remove that. Yeah. And if it wasn't for Elon Musk right now, we'd be rapidly down that road.
So the final kingdom that is going to be in place when the Antichrist is here is forming right now. It's the feet, the iron and the clay, the feet and the 10 toes there.
In the book of Revelation, it's the 10 kings and the 10 mountains.
Yeah.
But yes, it's
Revelation
kingdoms.
13 goes with this.
Yes.
Daniel 2, Daniel 7, Revelation 13, I think the first 2 or 3 verses there.
Yes, they do.
And I point out that they're mentioned backwards because John's in the future looking back, so he starts in the future and works his way back.
Right.
But all 4 of these kingdoms are part of the end-time kingdom, attributes of all
The
of them.
attributes are still there, and the character traits, if you look closely, you can see it.
And so the 5th kingdom, which is the Antichrist kingdom, is what we call the revived Roman Empire. It comes out of that 4th one. But remember, that 4th one, each kingdom that comes and takes over the other one, you don't lose all your customs and all. You still got, you're ruling
You still
over these
bring
same
it
people.
in, and the Romans were masters at incorporating all of those customs
Sure.
and religious thoughts all interwoven in with their politics.
Yeah. Well, we're running out of time, and then you got the stone. But I have a few points here. Number 1, Christ's kingdom will be established without human effort.
Yeah. It's a millennial reign.
There's no human effort. In fact, the world has come together to shake its fist and fight against God at Armageddon, and he ends it with the word of his mouth.
And the 7th angel pours out his vial of wrath, and it's over.
Yeah. Christ's kingdom will be established without human effort.
Yes.
Number 2, Christ's kingdom will be established at the end of all human government, which is Armageddon.
Yes.
Number 3, human government will be completely eliminated when Christ returns. There will not be a trace of government. It'll all be Christ with the rod of iron ruling from Jerusalem.
And that's where you get out of the book of Matthew, the way that the world is going to be governed is going to be covered. Yes.
I don't even know when I wrote this. This is old. This is decades old.
That's back when
these
you
notes.
could pretty well read your writing.
Yeah, and it's I still print it. I always print it. I can't read my handwriting, so I print. And I happened to come across this last night. I said, man, these would be some good thoughts to bring out. Some of this may be in the Daniel Study Guide. I'm not sure, but I wrote this: Christ's kingdom will be sudden and violent. It is pretty violent what happens at Armageddon. It's definitely sudden. It just boom. They're shaking their fist. They're blaspheming God. I mean, and he comes on the white horse, and we're coming back. We're the bride now. We're not the espoused bride anymore. We're the bride.
Yes, indeed.
And I wrote this: of his kingdom, there shall be no end. 1,000 years in length. Satan's imprisoned, but Christ's reign doesn't end at the end of the 1,000 years.
I started to say that 1,000 years is just for the current earth.
Yeah. But
Because
his
at
kingdom
the end of that, it's going to be a new
shall
earth,
never end.
and it shall never end.
That's pretty powerful, Doc.
It is. And he's not going to rule and reign forever over even a sin curse that's been remade earth. He's going to rule and reign forever over a new earth where sin has never contaminated.
Now, my friends listening via the radio or here on YouTube, are you ready for that kingdom? Are you ready for Christ to come in that white horse? I realize this is after the rapture, but are you ready for him to come and take over? Are you going to be part of that kingdom? Or are you not born again? You're lost. You're headed to a Christless eternity. That's what's going to happen if you're not saved. If you haven't put your faith and trust in the Lord Jesus Christ to save you from your lost condition, your sin, then you'll be part of the other side. You'll be left behind. You'll be in the lake of fire. I hope that's not true. If you need any help with that, you need any help understanding this thing we call redemption, get a hold of us. We'd love to help you with that. Until next time, keep your eyes on them skies.